In this video, I want to talk about the danger of valuing stocks based on aggressive growth assumptions. Maybe this is what you're doing, and I will tell you a simple process to value stocks and being safe. Because when you value a stock, when you value a company, you can make stupid mistakes. And if you do the mistakes, if you do valuation wrong, basically the whole investment thesis can be a huge value trap. So how to avoid these value traps, how to invest and being conservative, this is what we will do in this video. This video will have two parts. We will talk about the video from ValueX from Berkshire Hathaway. There is a speaker called Chris Davis that will mention a couple of points and that will show proof of what we are saying. And then we will play around with the DCF on Stock Unlock. So I think we can start. In case this is your first video from this channel, welcome. My name is Christophe Nour. I've been investing in the stock market for almost a decade now, and I have achieved a performance of 25% per year, investing in stocks and doing a DCF valuation model, being conservative, and this is the reason why I outperformed. So let me put play. We have the play by speak is good, and let's start.
Economists are giving predictions because they're asked, not because they know. A little word just on today's market and sort of what happened in the last couple of years, which was just the growth assumptions that went into valuing a lot of businesses. And I just wanted to give you a quick look at how hard those growth assumptions are to actually create in the real world. And when you do a DCF on a company and you're modeling 20% sales growth for a decade, it's possible, but it's not the way you'd bet. 3% of companies have achieved that. And lots of times, by the time you're looking at that company, they've already done it for 8 or 10 years.
Okay, so let's see what this graph is about. Maintaining fast sales growth over time is rare. Yeah, there is a great report from Credit Suisse. This is, I mean, you can Google it or you can ask ChatGPT. You type Credit Suisse, the base rate book or something like this. I mean, you can just shoot this on ChatGPT and you will find. This is the share of unique S&P 500 companies with fast sales growth for consecutive years. Yeah, and Credit Suisse is doing the same thing. Over the very long term, it's very hard to find a company that will compound their sales at a very high pace. This is only a minority of companies, and the spot obviously for you watching this video is to only invest in companies that are this tiny minority. So you have a share of S&P 500 companies with fast growth sales. This is the consecutive years from left to right, and these are the companies that are growing 10% sales growth per year or 20% per year. Okay, very well. So if you start from year 0, consecutive years, so that means 2 years in a row, I guess, you have from the base point, from the starting point, you have a lot of companies that were growing 10% per year, that continue to grow 10% per year. After 5 years, a company that started growing 10% per year, after 5 years, only 40% of them can continue to grow 10% per year. And after 10 years, only 15% continue to grow 10% per year. So, I mean, if you put the reverse of this one, that means that 85% of the companies that are currently growing 10% per year will not grow 10% per year in 10 years. Yeah. And as he's rightly saying, it's possible that when you look at these kind of companies right now, it is not their year 1. It's already their year 4 or 5. So you are halfway through this big collapse. And if you go and watch this darker blue line, 20% sales growth, this is even sharper. The decline is steeper. In 5 years, only 15% of companies can continue to grow 20% per year. And after 10 years, only 5% of them. So you have specific companies that are extraordinary, like Google, Alphabet, that fit this criteria. But this is very, very rare to have this. You can have Meta platforms and Alphabet, Google fit this category, but it is extremely rare.
Achieve that, and lots of times by the time you're looking at that company, they've already done it for 8 or 10 years.
Yep.
Margins even more. It's amazing how many models I saw in the last few years that still assumed EBIT margins over 50%.
Okay, this is quite important, and I've not seen a lot of YouTube videos about this one. So you have a nugget of wisdom for this one. This is us doing the work of watching 5 hours of video and giving you only what is the really important for you guys. By the way, if you want help with your portfolio and improve your returns, click the link in the description to book a free strategy call with me. We will see how we can work together to grow your portfolio in the long term. Maintaining high levels of profitability is also difficult. Share of unique S&P 500 companies with EBIT margins superior to 50% for consecutive years. So, you have companies with an EBIT margin, so operating margin, above 50%. For 1 year, one given year, at the beginning, you have only 2% of companies that can have 50% per year. After 5 years, you have only 0.4% of the companies in the S&P 500 that can continue to have these high margins. Wow, that's a lot. I mean, from 2.3 to 0.4, that's what? You divide by 5. So 80% of the companies are no longer having very high EBIT margins. And after 10 years, you go down from 2.3% to 0.1%. I mean, what would be the companies in the S&P 500 with EBIT margins superior to 50% after 10 years, like consecutively for 10 years? I have a couple of names that come to my mind, but I will have to double check on this one. This is very interesting. So the majority of the businesses cannot sustain profitability margins that are very high, like 50%. And you can argue that this will be the same phenomenon if you, instead of putting 50%, you put 30% or 25%. Obviously, to a lesser extent, yes, but you can guess that it will be the same decreasing trend by a lot. And what Chris Davis is saying here is that you have a lot of models that you will find on the internet, or if you pay for Wall Street equity research papers, or if you go on television and watch the TV, and people will have these complex models with a lot of forecasts in the future, and they will keep very high margins. So they will take the current margin for the business right now, like say 50%. And they will say, yeah, in the next 5 years, 10 years, let's hope that they sustain these margins. You know what? Most of the time, this is not happening because this is the way capitalism works. You have small, hungry companies that will come and disrupt you and eat your lunch. You will have small, hungry companies from China that will come and compete, because if you have a lot of margins, you have a lot of cake, and people want your cake. So they will want you to share, but you don't want, so you will fight. You will have a war on prices. So there are different scenarios in this category. You can share the cake and have a duopoly, or you can compete and there is less cake for everybody. So as this graph shows you, most of the time people fight for the big cake, meaning big margins, and most of the time it's loser's game to forecast high margins in the future. So now you have another tip, you watching this video. If you do a DCF, if you perform a DCF, please be conservative in the margins. If a business has a high margin, if you can, in your DCF, put a lower margin in the future. The same thing can be said for growth rate, as you can see based on this graph. If a business has grown 20% per year on your DCF, please don't put 20%. And I will show you examples how to do it on a website on Stock Unlock later in this video.
Models I saw in the last few years that still assumed EBIT margins over 50%. And you can see how quickly those margins diminish, even on the handful of companies that have been able to do it. All right, I'm going to kind of end with a quote that is...
Yeah, this is good. You always sound smarter when you're bearish. Well, that may be a topic for another video. Now they talked about the DCF, and I want to show you how to use the DCF model on Stock Unlock. If you want to use Stock Unlock, this is a website I use every day. You have a discount code in the description below, so just click on the link. You will have a discount. It will be cheaper for you guys. If you want to discount some businesses, or I don't know, what can I use for my Oh, Lotus Bakeries is a good example. Imagine you have Costco. Costco is nice. Costco will obviously show me some overvaluation, but you will get a sense of the exercise. Okay, this is Costco. This is the DCF calculator on Stock Unlock. As always, you have the link in the description below. This is the free cash flow of Costco. If I have earnings, is it smoother? Yes, it's smoother. You know what? Let's forecast the next earnings for this company. So what is Chris Davis telling us on this graph? He's telling us that most companies have decreasing growth over time. So now, if you go to the DCF and Stock Unlock, you will have the metric, earnings, number of years, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. You can put 5 years if you want. And you have the growth rate. Now, Stock Unlock automatically is giving you the earnings growth rate over the past 5 years. And over the past 5 years, they are very efficient. They have grown earnings by 15% per year. So when you are faced with this DCF, what do? And the advice Chris Davis is telling you is not to put 15%, because not a lot of companies can sustain these high margins, high growth rates. So why not being conservative and put 10 or 12%? You can say, okay, let's go for 12. Now you have the shares outstanding. This has nothing to do with this video. Dividend growth rate, I don't like to put dividend growth rate here. And this is your PE ratio. This has nothing to do with the video. So let's assume the PE ratio is not moving from the 5-year average. This is it. If you are a little bit more conservative, you have a fair value that is minus 20%. So the stock is overvalued. And I see a lot of people on YouTube or on Twitter or some friends that are at this step of the analysis. They've done the work on Costco. They know exactly the business model, the management team, etc. And now time to value the stock, and they are not being conservative. And I see this mistake over and over again. They say the business has grown 15% per year, but because you think that it will be even more efficient in the future, that they have increasing pricing power, you say, yeah, it makes sense to increase the growth rate in the future. So I would say most of the time it's a mistake to do this. So it's a very easy fix to never, ever, I've never seen somebody on YouTube say this, to never put a growth rate higher than what the past has been for the company. And you can say the same thing over the past 10 years. Over the past 10 years, if you are courageous enough to do a DCF for 10 years, I don't recommend it, but for the sake of the exercise, let's do it. Over the past 10 years, the earnings have grown 12-13% per year. Okay, very well. Let me remove this. If you think they will continue like this, maybe you are a little bit delusional, because the minority of businesses can continue to grow at this pace. So some people may argue, now with efficiency, they can grow 15-18% per year. And based on this formula, the fair value is up there, so the stock is undervalued. You may think, you have two kind of people. Either you are watching this video right now and saying, this is delusional, who thinks like this? But I'm telling you, there are people like this. And I'm making this video for everybody, so it's you have some value watching this video. There are some people that think that the future will be brighter than the past, and they're putting more aggressive assumptions for their DCF. I'm telling you guys, this is a major mistake, because only a minority of companies can do this. Are you the part of the minority category of investors that can spot the minority of companies? The odds are very thin. The odds are very low that you are this person. So don't try to be a superhero. That's fine. If the business has grown 12% per year over the past 10 years, you can put a lower number. 10% is fine. And if you think that 10% is fine, if you assume nothing for the PE ratio, in this sense, the fair value is lower. So Costco is overvalued. But I don't recommend putting a forecast of 10 years actually. I always put 5 years. I don't like 10 years, I don't like 3 years, I like 5 years. So if you really want to be conservative, you can put 10%, or you can be a little bit more conservative and say 8%. Now you're being conservative. You put half the growth rate. If you put half the growth rate and you assume nothing for the rest, even if you don't change the PE ratio, if you think the business can continue to grow 8% per year, which is quite good, you have a fair value that is minus 30%. So the stock is overvalued. And you can play around with some numbers and play with the valuation now. If you think the PE ratio for Costco, if you think they don't deserve a PE ratio of 42 and you think they deserve a PE ratio of 30, in this case, that's 100% overvalued, meaning the fair value is minus 50%. The stock needs to be cut in half to be at fair price. So not very seduced by the stock price of Costco at the moment. That's it. But I mean, conservatively, you can say they can grow 10 or 12%. This is fine. No more than 15%, and it will change a lot. And if you want to play around with some numbers, you can put 35 depending on your conviction. And if these are your assumptions, Costco is still overvalued. So yeah, these were two great points from Chris Davis. First, the growth rate is expected to go down in the future for the majority of companies. And secondly, the margins will continue the downtrend, will not continue to be very high in the future. If you like this video and want help improving your portfolio, click the link in the description below to book a free strategy call with me. We will review your situation and see how I can help you get better results over time.